It's really wild to think how quickly things are moving with AI, isn't it?
Absolutely. Just feels like yesterday we were talking about much simpler systems.
Right. And now, like this one source mentions, the progress feels almost exponential.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're trying to grasp something that's constantly shifting.
Mm-hmm. It definitely brings up some big questions about where this is all headed.
Yeah, that sense of rapid change and the uncertainty that comes with it, it's key.
Which is why getting a solid handle on what these technologies like ChatGPT can actually do
Yeah.
and how they work, it's just so important right now for everyone, really.
Exactly. And that's why we're doing this deep dive today. A listener, actually, someone who really likes getting to the heart of things, sent us a bunch of articles,
Oh, interesting. All on ChatGPT.
all focused on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some looking at its general smarts, some specifically on its potential in medicine, which is fascinating,
Yeah.
and some broader takes on AI, too.
A good mix then. Multiple angles.
Totally. And the listener basically said, help me get this quickly, get those aha moments without drowning in jargon.
Makes sense. Cut through the noise.
So that's our mission. Explore ChatGPT, especially the medical side, pull out the surprising stuff, the crucial insights.
Sounds good. These sources should give us a really well-rounded view, from the tech itself to, the real-world impact.
Yeah.
Connect the dots.
Okay, let's unpack this then.
Yeah.
What is ChatGPT fundamentally? We hear the name constantly, but what's the core idea?
Okay. So ChatGPT and the name itself, Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer, kind of gives clues it's a language model.
A language model.
Right. It uses deep learning, which is a type of AI, to basically learn the patterns of human language and then, mimic them.
Mimic them. So it's not like programmed with grammar rules explicitly.
Not in the old school way, no. It learns from exposure to just vast amounts of text data, billions of words. And the key thing is it's general purpose, meaning it's not built for just one specific job. It learns underlying patterns, the statistics of language, which lets it understand and generate text even on topics it wasn't specifically trained on.
Ah, okay. So it's not just pulling facts from a giant database. It's more like learning how words fit together.
Exactly. Think probabilities. Which word is likely to come next, given the previous words? That's the core mechanism. This lets it generate incredibly human-like text.
Wow.
And the article points out it can even generate computer code pretty effectively, too.
Code as well?
And
Okay.
another important point the source makes, ChatGPT is almost like a placeholder name now.
How so?
Because the technology is just evolving so incredibly fast. What we call ChatGPT today, it might look quite different soon. There are already newer models, like ChatSonic mentioned in one piece, that try to address limitations like the training data cutoff date. ChatGPT's knowledge often stops in 2021.
Right. That freshness issue. So it's a moving target. Okay, so we have a basic idea. But what about the stuff that's really making headlines? The surprising things it can do?
Yeah, the article, Could ChatGPT Play a Medical Doctor? Digs into this. And some of the feats are genuinely, impressive.
Like what?
Like passing exams for law school and business school.
Wait, actual professional school exams.
Yep. Think about that. These aren't simple multiple-choice tests. They require understanding complex information, reasoning. The fact that AI can automate tasks at that level is something else.
That is pretty mind-blowing. So
Yeah.
a key takeaway right there. AI isn't just for simple stuff anymore. It's hitting complex knowledge-based domains.
Absolutely. And here's maybe the most striking one. It came incredibly close to passing a U.S. medical licensing exam.
No way. Seriously.
Seriously. And the article mentions preparing for that exam typically takes, 300, 400 hours of dedicated human study?
Wow. And ChatGPT just almost did it.
Almost did it without that specific, intensive human-style prep. So, another big insight. AI is demonstrating capabilities in areas needing really deep, specialized knowledge.
Okay, that really makes you pause and think about education, doesn't it? Like the authors suggest, especially for fields like medicine, engineering.
Exactly. If an AI can perform near that level on an exam, do we need to fundamentally rethink what skills are most important to teach humans? How do we even assess understanding anymore?
It forces you to ask, what is uniquely human? What value do we bring if the knowledge recall part can be done by a machine?
Precisely. And the piece also brings up a fascinating point about us, about humans. Our resistance sometimes to AI, even when it might be demonstrably better.
Oh, how so?
It references Daniel Kahneman's work and uses the self-driving car example. Statistically, autonomous cars might cause fewer accidents per mile than humans.
Right, I've heard that argument.
But when an autonomous car does have an accident, it's huge news. We fixate on it. Meanwhile, we almost tune out the constant stream of accidents caused by human error every single day.
It's that trust thing, isn't it? That
Yeah.
psychological hurdle. Even if the data says one thing, our gut feels another.
Mm-hmm. There's an inherent skepticism, perhaps an ego element too.
Okay, interesting. Now, shifting gears a bit, how is all this impacting science research?
Well, the potential seems pretty significant there too. One idea is that ChatGPT could free up scientists from some of the more tedious tasks.
Like writing, grant proposals.
Exactly. Drafting initial versions of papers, maybe summarizing literature, things that take time but aren't necessarily the core creative or experimental work.
So it could, theoretically, speed up the scientific process.
That's the hope. Let scientists focus more on the thinking, the experimenting. And interestingly, there's data suggesting scientists are already adopting these tools.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a survey mentioned in the article, I think it was of Nature readers, found something like 80% had used chatbots.
80%? That's huge.
It is. And maybe half of them were using it for, quote, creative fun, which suggests, exploring its capabilities, maybe brainstorming. It shows a growing acceptance, or at least curiosity, in the community.
Creative fun. I like that. Okay, but beyond writing help, what about specific applications in, say, medicine, like we talked about?
The author floats a few ideas, maybe assisting with initial diagnoses, especially for rare conditions that a doctor might not immediately think of.
Like a differential diagnosis tool.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Or even just as a brainstorming partner, exploring different research angles, treatment ideas.
But that brings up some tricky issues, right?
Absolutely. The big one is responsibility. If an AI suggests a diagnosis and it turns out to be wrong, who's liable? The doctor, the AI developer, the hospital.
Yeah, that's a massive legal and ethical minefield. We're probably just scratching the surface of those discussions.
For sure. And there are ongoing debates within the scientific community, too, about ChatGPT's role.
Like what?
Well, the whole controversy about whether you can list ChatGPT as an author on a scientific paper.
All right, I saw headlines about that. Seems weird.
It raises fundamental questions about what authorship means, accountability, originality. And then there's the slightly worrying finding that ChatGPT can generate scientific abstracts, summaries of papers that are convincing enough to fool actual scientists sometimes.
Okay, that's unsettling. The potential for misuse, for generating plausible-sounding nonsense.
Exactly. It highlights the need for critical evaluation, for maybe developing new ways to verify scientific claims in the age of AI.
Definitely. So we've seen what it can do, the good and the potentially problematic.
Yeah.
But how does it actually work? What's going on under the hood?
Okay, this is where the article Modeling What the Hell gets really interesting. It breaks it down in a surprisingly straightforward way.
Good, because it sounds complicated.
At its core, it's about probability. ChatGPT basically learns how likely words are to appear together based on the massive amount of text it was trained on.
Probability.
Essentially, yeah. The author uses a great example. The words Einstein and German. They have a super high probability of occurring near each other in texts, higher even than maybe Einstein and famous.
Ah, I see. So it learns these statistical connections between words.
Exactly. Billions and billions of them. So a key insight here is that it's not understanding language like a human does. It's recognizing incredibly complex statistical patterns.
So when it generates text, it's just predicting the most statistically likely next word and the next and the next.
That's the basic idea, yes. It's incredibly sophisticated pattern matching and prediction, really.
Okay, so it doesn't know who Einstein was or what Germany is.
Yeah.
It just knows those words often travel together.
Precisely. And the author draws this fascinating parallel to our own brains. We do something similar subconsciously.
We do.
Think about it. When you read or listen, your brain is constantly predicting what comes next based on context and probability. That feeling you get, that mental wait, what? When someone says something totally out of context.
Yeah, the walk-up look, as they call it.
Right. That's your brain flagging a super low probability word or phrase. It doesn't fit the pattern.
Huh. That makes a lot of sense, actually. So the human-like quality of ChatGPT's output, it's not necessarily because it's been deliberately designed to think like a human.
Exactly. It's more like a byproduct. The article quotes the developers saying this mimicry is a direct result of the system's design. The design goal being to make its output as statistically similar as possible to the human text it learned from.
So maximizing similarity, not necessarily replicating understanding.
Correct. And this also explains the limitations, right? Why ChatGPT can sometimes be confidently wrong or generate inaccurate information or even biased text.
Because it's just generating what sounds plausible based on patterns, not what's actually true or fact-checked.
Exactly. It doesn't have a built-in truth detector or a real understanding of the world. It's an incredibly sophisticated mimic.
That is a really, really crucial distinction. A mimic, not a mind. Okay, so the million-dollar question then, especially with that near miss on the medical exam, is it going to replace doctors?
Right, the big one. The article tackles this head-on. It notes, first off, that apps trying to mimic doctors, asking symptom questions, suggesting diagnoses they already exist.
Seen some of those.
But the expert view presented in the source is pretty clear. ChatGPT, or AI like it, is unlikely to replace human doctors, at least not in the foreseeable future.
Okay, that's probably reassuring for a lot of people. So, if not replacement, then what?
Collaboration, partnership. That seems to be the much more probable and, frankly, more useful scenario.
How would that look?
Think of it as an incredibly powerful assistant, a tool. It could help doctors quickly search and synthesize vast amounts of medical literature, maybe suggest differential diagnoses they hadn't considered, check for drug interactions.
So, augmenting the doctor's abilities, not supplanting them.
Precisely. Helping with information retrieval, maybe brainstorming complex cases. The author suggests, if we can get past any human ego involved, it's a potentially phenomenal tool to enhance medical practice.
A partnership. I like that framing. It feels much more realistic. Okay, zooming out one last time then. What are the bigger picture implications here? Where does this leave us?
Well, one key theme is still that uncertainty we started with. The long-term impacts. Honestly, we just don't know for sure where this all leads.
Still uncharted territory.
Very much so. But another interesting point raised is about accessibility. These powerful AI techniques like deep learning, the tools are becoming more available.
How so?
Things like TensorFlow.js, which lets you run machine learning models right in a web browser using JavaScript. This could empower people without deep AI expertise to build intelligent applications.
So sort of democratizing AI development.
Kind of, yeah. Imagine the innovation when these tools are easier for more creators, more entrepreneurs, more educators to use. The article even briefly touches on AI assisting mathematicians now, hinting at its potential across many intellectual fields.
It really opens up possibilities, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Making that power more accessible.
It really does. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's quickly recap. We set out to understand ChatGPT, its surprising skills, especially in medicine, how it works under the hood, and its likely future role.
Right. And we found it's a powerful language model, capable of impressive feats like passing high-level exams.
But its intelligence comes from recognizing statistical patterns in huge data sets, not from genuine human-like understanding, which leads to the idea of it being a powerful assistant, particularly in fields like medicine, rather than a replacement.
And the future. Still unfolding, full of potential, but also raising really important ethical and practical questions we need to grapple with.
Exactly. And for you, our listener, who wanted those aha moments, I hope, understanding that probabilistic core, that statistical engine driving it, and just the sheer speed of its progress, I hope that delivered some of those surprising insights.
Yeah, the pace and the underlying mechanism are pretty mind-bending when you dig in.
Absolutely. And it leaves us and you with a really important thought to chew on, I think. Given how fast AI is evolving, how capable it's becoming in these knowledge-heavy areas, what does that mean for us? What are the truly essential human skills and ways of thinking that we need to cultivate for the future?
That balance, right? How do we leverage AI strengths while doubling down on what makes us uniquely human?
Exactly. Finding that sweet spot in an ever-changing world, something for all of us to think about.